Hey, everybody out there. Welcome to Alpha Flight Monday. Today, we're looking at Alpha Flight number 16. Who do we got up in the corner box? We got Heather, we have Puck, and we have Marrina. And on the cover, we have the Submariner and Puck is putting the boot in to the would-be master of the world's face, which is a great place for you to put your foot. Now, let's take a look. Last issue, we saw Submariner versus Marrina. She's gone savage again. And is it because of this guy? Is it because of something else? Let's see what happens. Seems to be because she had another encounter with one of her own species. John Byrne, creator, writer, penciler, Bob Wojciech, finisher, Andy Yankus, coloring, Rick Parker, lettering, Denny O'Neil, editor, Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief, and forsaking all others. Beneath the waters of Lake Ontario, following the curve of the Canadian shore, a vessel. Its shape mimics the natural form of the denizens of the waters around it, but its size is closer to that of a submarine. And truth to tell, that is precisely what it is. So we got this very cool fish-like submarine. If you notice, we got this window down here, and we see a shape that's kind of reminiscent of Disney's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And so we have a brooding master of the world, and behind him, the Submariner and Puck in these tubes. Submariner is being denied water. Puck is being denied oxygen. They are both still conscious, which apparently is amazing to the Master, as he explains why. And we also see the Submariner apologizing to Puck, having thought he was fighting, trying to attack the woman he loves. Puck says, "Save it for later, Namor. I'm not holding any grudges just now. I'm more interested in how this so-called master happens to be alive after his first run-in with Alpha." So that was back in issue number 4. I got a handy editor's note here to help me on that one. And if you recall, the master had struck before. He has a need for Aurora, and he revealed she is one of a species called the Plodex, who invaded many different worlds, and they would invade in a sort of egg form and would then take the form of the dominant life form of that planet so that they could survive there and conquer those people, probably kill all of them, and then just take the thing for themselves. And in the case of Aurora, she was the only egg. Well, she was an egg, I guess you could say, that hatched early. She was kind of found by accident by a fisherman. And having been hatched around humans, she took this sort of humanoid form. And Alpha Flight managed, with the help of Namor and Invisible Woman, to defeat him. And they thought they had destroyed his base entirely. But it turns out he actually survived. I think this is the first time in comic books that a villain survived when we were all sure he was dead. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe they've done that once or twice, but here we go. And we do see behind him this savage mutated form of Marrina. There she is, Prince Namor, the object of your heart's desire. Lovely, isn't she? Namor's not going to do well with that taunting. Oh, Dazzler the movie. I've been reading a bunch of Dazzler lately. We'll get to those one of these days. Monster, what have you done to her? Done? I have done nothing. You see Marrina now as she truly is, Namor, an alien killing machine. This is Marrina restored to her true function. I have but rekindled in her lost purpose. And there we get a quick glimpse at her being hatched by this woman from this egg. Submariner and Puck are both astonished, at what they're seeing. Well, let's take a break from that Startling moment. Meanwhile, in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Ah, good. That must be him now. So we have a buzz on the doorbell. Mr. Jeffries, welcome to Moose Jaw. I'm glad you could come. Hey, anytime anybody sends. Oh, sorry. I'm reading that very poorly. Hey, anytime anybody sends me a plane ticket and $1,000, I'll go anywhere. You botches? Is that what he says? Yeah, you botches? That's box. You know, as if it were spelled B-O-X. Come in and sit down. So Mr. Jeffries has shown up. Mr. Jeffries is going to play a big role in Alpha Flight as the story goes forward. Now, you remember Roger Box? He has this giant robot that he's able to merge with and control. But he also has a problem, and that is he needs to repair it. The robot was used to help kill Guardian. Obviously, Box was not in, control of it at the time, and he wants to get it repaired. And why does he want to get it repaired? So he can get revenge on Jackson and on Delphine Courtney. So he throws all these parts at Jeffries. And they start to float, and he messes around, and all of a sudden, it's like a robot arm. So Mr. Jeffries is a mutant. He can basically mentally take various metal parts or what have you and reshape them into some form and function that he wants. And so Roger Box says, with your skill and my knowledge, we can recreate Box bigger, stronger, more powerful than ever before. And once we've done that, we will track down Jerry Jackson and Delphine Courtney. The rest of Alpha Flight doesn't know they escaped, but I know, and I'm going to destroy them. So Box is, whoops, sorry about that, everybody. So Box is not real happy about the part he was forced to play in killing Guardian. He was a guy who was just on the verge of joining Alpha Flight. And that has now, in his mind at least, been denied him. But more importantly, somebody that he respected was killed and he was used. Now we're going to go ahead and look at another scene. The last rays of the sun have winked out, leaving only a vague pinkiness to the western sky. And in Toronto's towering Bethune Memorial Hospital, a young woman faces the future and, not for the first time, feels alone. She is Heather McNeil Hudson, widow of the man called Guardian. And so she, as we had talked about last time around, and a couple issues ago, had dove into Lake Ontario to find out, I think to try to save somebody who had been pulled under by something living in the lake and was attacked and injured. And so, she's going through it. I mean, she's going through it in a bad way. Oh, Mac, why did it have to be you? You never wanted to be leader of Alpha Flight. You were happy just puttering around in the lab, playing mad scientist. There's no logic to it, no reason for you to have died. What was the sense of you dying? She's saying this out loud, and obviously, a lot of people have been through this. And it is one of the powerful things about comic books. Images and words coming together and, doing some good in some ways to help people going through things like this who feel like they're going through it alone. And a shadowy figure appears at the door. There ain't no sense to it, babe. There's never any sense to dying. There's just death. Who? Who could it be who has shown up in our hospital room? Oh, it's this little-known guy called Logan. Some people refer to him as Wolverine. Who do you think, kid? I'd have been here sooner, but you're a tough lady to track down. Logan. And of course, she almost falls over because her legs are injured. And so Logan has arrived. It's me. Heather, Shaman told me about your nightmares when he got in touch with me about Jimmy's death. He told me you were staying with Puck, but the Shrimp's landlady said you were in the hospital. Hey, you know what? Calling Puck a shrimp is not very nice, but when you're Logan, there's not a whole lot of superheroes shorter than you are, so I guess give him a break. You know Puck, Logan? I had no idea. Only by reputation, kid. Him and me almost crossed paths and swords when I was a government agent and he was an independent. I didn't know that. But how did you... Ow, careful. How did you get here? You're still pretty much persona non grata with the government, aren't you? Well, yeah, well, that's their problem. I know ways in and out of this country they never even heard of. Anyway, I won't tell them I'm here if you don't. But who cares about that? I ain't here to worry about government bozos. I'm here to see you. I figured you might need an old friend just now. So, interesting little moment. Wolverine's there, looking after Alpha Flight and X-Men crosses over quite a bit. So shouldn't be surprised about that. So back to the scene on the Master's submarine of evil. And he basically, he's got Marrina, he's got this other creature in these two holds on the ship. And there's a wall separating. He raises the wall. And so Marrina now sees this other Plodex. And you see that the Plodex shapes an almost like a baby-like face in response to her. These are shapeshifters. And all of a sudden, that face takes on a very horrible aspect. And that's sort of the tragedy of Marrina, is that she comes from a species that is inherently violent. They're kind of almost designed for killing. And it's not what she wants. And so basically, the Master is going to, this is his plan, mate these two Plodex. He's going to use them in his schemes. Well, Puck, now you remember, is in that sort of tube, deprived of oxygen, and he can't get out. Namor can't get out, deprived of water. So what is Puck going to do? Well, he just so happens, and you see he's trying to get out. He's kind of climbed up. He can't get out. So he has a little trick, and an alarm goes off, and the Master, what? The biofunction monitor. All of Judge's vital signs have ceased. Remarkable. There was little indication of a decline. In fact, it seemed he was holding up remarkably well. How could his entire system have collapsed so totally, so quickly? And so he opens up the thing to get to Puck to sort of study, as he puts it, poor little misshapen creature. Master's a jerk. And if you remember his origin is kind of similar to Vandal Savage in DC. He was sort of a caveman type, hunter-gatherer from way back when, who had stumbled upon this alien ship, and it increased his intelligence, gave him these abilities. And Submariner, your hours are numbered, Master. Count them upon the fingers of one hand. The death of the one called Puck shall not go avenged. Bold words, Namor. Ooh, bold words, but also true, because then all of a sudden, Puck strikes. Yeah, this is kind of getting a little blurry on this time, but here you get a nice shot of Puck slamming the so-called Master. Come on, let's focus. There we go. Slamming the so-called Master in the face, cartwheeling away, opening up the tube that was holding Namor. But of course, Namor is free, but he still is being deprived of water and therefore of his strength. So Puck makes this awesome move and rips the helmet off of the Master's head. And that doesn't feel too good, apparently. And he throws the helmet at that glass, or whatever it is. We'll assume it's some kind of glass, facing Marrina's tank. And of course, his aim is faultless. Well, it was a pretty big target, to be honest with you. And that, shattering the tank, sends water, also two savage Plodex, into the remainder of this submarine. But the water is what Submariner needs to survive and get his strength back. And the Master yells, "Fools!" Ooh, that's not a good-looking face right there. Fools, you don't realize what you have done. I did not wear that helmet out of choice or vanity. It was my control link to this vessel, to all my installations, and it was joined to me as much a part of me as my own flesh. Look what you have done to me. I don't know that they're going to go, oh, gee, I'm really sorry. You were trying to kill all of us and take over the world, and sorry I did something so unpleasant to you. No, this is some mad deceit. I saw you on the beach. You wore normal human clothing. That was the deceit, Namor, an illusion created by mechanisms within this costume. Okay, so they got bigger problems, though, than the Master throwing a hissy fit because this giant amorphous shape-shifting alien death machine is loose and taking a swipe at Namor, who is doing his best to hold on to the equally savage Marrina. And, it's fast. We can't dodge it forever. The Master, we're getting some prime Kirby hand motion there from the Master. No, it's trashing. Oh, its thrashing is damaging the ship's automatic systems. Stop it before we sink. So they're going down. And that's not necessarily a big problem for Namor and Marrina, but it is a problem for Puck and for this Master. And so he has to throw Marrina off of him, which he does not like because he is quite in love with her. And then grab Puck and head as quickly as he can to the surface, which is pretty quick in his case. Giant bubble. The Master's ship must have exploded. And they come to shore a few hours later. And there's Puck. Where is Namor? And there he emerges with his flat head. Did you find anything? Much. The lake bed is strewn with the debris of the Master's ship. That and masses of ooze and gristle I take to be the remains of the monster. The Master himself is nowhere to be seen, not at least as a recognizable human body. But Marrina is also gone without a trace. I pray she escaped the blast, but... And Puck, he's really taking it hard, poor guy. You don't think of kings and princes having heartache like the rest of us. Take it easy, Namor. It's rough, and I know you've had more than your fair share of this misery in your life, eh? But Marrina's a tough little item. She probably survived worse things than this, as an egg being tossed all over the Atlantic for 40,000 years. Take my word for it. If it was meant to be, you'll see her again, but only when she's ready. Perhaps you're right. And so with that, Namor bids adieu to Puck. I can't get a hold of that page. And now, as he leaves, Marrina emerges. All right, Marrina, you can come out now. You knew I was here? For how long, Judd? Long enough to realize you didn't want him to know. Not long. How are you, Marrina? Recovered, and yet not at all recovered. Oh, what am I going to do, Judd? I feel so awful, so used. I feel as if I've been turned inside out, stripped naked in front of the whole world. Not surprising, eh? That's pretty much what happened, isn't it? The Master reached deep down inside you, and it wasn't the Master. Don't you understand? It wasn't him at all. It was that creature, that horrible monster. It reached into my soul without words, without doing anything. It opened a part of me I didn't even know was there, a part of me that wanted to be opened, that wanted to kill and maim and destroy. I knew what was happening to me, and I didn't fight it. I didn't want to, because that creature was more, oh, much, much more than just another member of my race, Judd. It was biologically matched to me, to my cells, my instinct. It was my mate. I'm not fit for human company, Judd. I know that now. I was fooling myself thinking I could find some answer in Atlantis, some hope in the love of a man like the Submariner. But it was all a sham, a terrible empty joke. I have to go away, Judd, away from people, away from Alpha Flight. Marrina. No, I'm not Marrina, Judd. Marrina was a simple girl from a tiny island. She had family and friends, people she loved and who loved her. While I am only a monster. Next issue. Changes are coming for Alpha Flight. Big changes. And they start next issue. The X-Men guest star in Dreams Die Hard. Be here in 14 days. And here we see Guardian is dead. Who will lead Alpha Flight? Oh, you think they're trying to tease people into thinking that Wolvie is going to leave the X-Men and start hanging out with Alpha Flight? Well, maybe he will. Who knows? Who knows? If you think you know, and this is Alpha Flight's new to you, feel free to leave a comment about it. Give your predictions. I'm not going to tell you if you're wrong or right, because that's not the point of comic books. But, hey, throw it out there. And if you got any questions or any other comments about these books and these storylines, please do so. So this is an interesting one. Are we at the end of the Marrina saga? Doesn't seem like we're at the end of it necessarily, but she slipped off. Who knows when we're going to see Marrina again? Who knows if we will see Marrina again? That's one of the great things about comic books, comic book universes. The characters who you don't get a resolution exactly, and you don't know what's going to end up happening to them, where they're going to end up next. But they're sort of out there on the Rolodex of other comic book professionals, creators, and you know that we're going to probably see them again eventually. But for the moment, we're done with Marrina. And now we're shifting to the future of Alpha Flight and the roster and who's going to lead. And as we saw last issue, we're also starting to set up a storyline involving Shaman and his daughter. So you don't have to wait 14 days, just 7 days from now. It'll be Alpha Flight Monday again. We'll be looking at issue number 17. In the meantime, if you're enjoying these videos, please like, subscribe, share with friends. In the meantime, God bless everybody. Be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun, and I will see you next time in Dad's Den of Pop Culture for the next Alpha Flight Monday. Bye-bye.